He's going to say you about the basics of GIS and every details. So let's begin. Sir, first of all, I'd like to ask you what is GIS?
Okay, so GIS, the concept of GIS is very broad. So technically, if we talk about what is the definition of GIS, GIS means it's a tool where we implement different kinds of softwares. It's like a platform where we can do many kind of operations, like we can create digital maps, we can process many kinds of images, satellite images, we can generate outputs, so we can analyze data, we can interpret data, many things we can do. It's like a tool, it's a software platform. So like for example, there are different kinds of GIS software which are available in the market nowadays. Some of them are like open source, some of them are like paid versions. So let's talk about what are the open source. The most widely used open source GIS is QGIS, Quantum GIS. The full form of QGIS is, so in Quantum GIS we get to use we similar to the paid versions only. Nowadays it's almost same, where we get lots of tools in Quantum GIS. We can do image processing, we can digitize any kind of map, we can do some kind of interpretation, we can even analyze things, we can even see how image will look like on the web platform. Like in nowadays the recent version of QGIS, since 3 point above 3.0, we get to see something new features like the WebGIS. WebGIS is a very new technology in the market where we can work with the web technology. Like for example, if we are digitizing something in the GIS software, then we can upload that in the web servers. We can even preview them, like how our data will look like on the web platform. So, and many more things we can do with the QGIS software. And there are some more open source softwares which are available for other kinds of purposes, like even for the 3D surveys and all. Open source softwares are available. And let's talk about the paid softwares. Paid softwares are like the ArcGIS version, which is the latest one of the godfather, we can say godfather of GIS. In ArcGIS we get to use many kinds of utilities. It is there, like you can even do image processing, you can digitize things, you can create maps, you can analyze maps, you can interpret data, lots of utilities it is there. Nowadays the desktop version of ArcGIS, which we are using till now, is going to be replaced by the pro version of ArcGIS, which is ArcGIS Pro, which is like a cloud-based system which works on basically on cloud-based. It's like you don't require a very high configuration system to work in the ArcGIS Pro. A normal configuration system is enough to work upon it, because once you enter the software, everything is cloud based. Like whatever operations you will do, all will be saved in the cloud platform. Then the outputs and all will, everything will be stored in the cloud platform. It means that even though you change your system, if you change your location, if you change your system, you can access your data through your own login ID and password, which you create in the online GIS, that is the ArcGIS online platform. So basically here we get to see that GIS, which stands for Geographical Information System, it is a tool where we can integrate all of the geographical data. And so GIS is incomplete without remote sensing. I must say that remote sensing comes first before GIS. Both are interrelated, yet both are different also. Remote sensing is something like where we collect data, the primary data. Like primary data sources are like the satellite imageries. The satellite imageries are the primary data sources. We go for the surveys which are conducted on the ground, the data which is collected from the ground, they are the primary data. Then all kinds of other data which are the first source, which are the primary source, they all fall under the process of remote sensing. In remote sensing, it is not mandatory that you have to visit the field. The data can be collected remotely. Like the satellite imagery is one absolute example of remote sensing. It's like the satellites which are present in the space, they used to collect the data, then they send the data to the users. The users then download the data from the satellite providers, then they interpret and analyze the satellite data using a GIS software. Here we get to see that the GIS software is used when we have some ample amount of remote sensing data. So both are interrelated in this manner, yet both are different in the process. Like remote sensing is the collection of data remotely, and GIS is like the processing of the remotely collected data. So that's all about remote sensing and GIS.
So where does GIS come from originally?
If we see in the timeline of the history, the before what happens, in the earlier times, people used to make maps on pen and paper, on a paper. So before the geographers, especially the base of the GIS is from geography. Before the early geographers, they used to travel throughout the world, they used to travel to different places, then they used to collect data and they try to interpret the data in the form of maps. They are all like sketch type of maps which are drawn on the paper. So it was in the early time, that was the only map available which we see in those early kings and queens time. So all the kinds of maps were available which are on sketch. Then in the modern era, in the I guess in 20th century, the revolution came in GIS, that people started to implement it digitally. We can say the father of GIS is Roger Tomlinson, who was the first person to use a digital map. He used to prepare pen and paper maps before, then he scanned the map digitally on the computer, then he prepared a digital output of it. Since then, the word GIS came into light, that we can use any kind of geographical data and we can convert that data into a digital format, and we can store it more flexibly, because in pen and paper if you store data, there is no guarantee that it will be stored for a longer time, it may get lost. But if anything is converted to a digital format, it becomes easy for us to access anytime from anywhere. So we can say that the origin of GIS began during the 90s in the 20th century, and the father of GIS is Roger Tomlinson. Since then, there more developments came into in this field when the space missions were taken out, like when when Russia sent their own space satellites in, like Sputnik, which was the first satellite launched by Russia. Then even America launched its Landsat series. Since then, the data were collected remotely. The data of all of the over the earth were collected. Then those were processed using GIS softwares. So we can say since that period, the entire GIS came into existence.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to know about the scopes of GIS.
Okay, talking about the scopes of GIS, there are lots of scopes of GIS. So today in this recent trend, we can see there are lots of scopes of GIS. Like for example, GIS can be used in agriculture, GIS can be used in forestry, it can be used in resource management, it can be used in transportation, it can be used in navigation facilities, urban planning, and lot more. Now if we talk about agriculture, how can GIS be used in the field of agriculture? It's like you can through GIS, we can demarcate the distribution of crop production in an area. We can even demarcate the we can divide the entire distribution within small area to bigger areas, like from a state level to country level also. So we can see what the pattern, we can even study the pattern of the crops, like what kind of crops are available in which part of the country, in which part of the state. We can differentiate between them. We can interpret the data like we can even detect like the increase in the crop production. If it is increasing, we get to see through comparing through the satellite images, we can compare the production of one particular crop of 1 year with another year, that either the production has increased or decreased. Then even we can see that if there is any change in the crop production, that also can be detected in through GIS. Then talking about like the scope of GIS in forestry, like we can see that in this modern time we have seen there are lots of changes going on in the forest. So some of the forest areas are cleared, especially where there are lots of urban developments. So we can compare those changes using GIS technology. We can compare the earlier images, like what was at earlier time the scenario of the forest and what is now in today's time. So we can compare both the things, then we can study the forest department. We can see nowadays they are using the GIS technology to detect the changes in the forest, if the forest area is decreasing or increasing, if there is any kind of illegal activities going on in the forest. They use the GIS technologies to detect the healthiness of the forest cover also. So we can see in forest department they are using GIS in an increasing manner nowadays. Then if we talk about the water resource management, yes, there are lots of scope in this field also. In water resource management, the water resources like the rivers, the channels, the streams, the lakes, they all are monitored through GIS. Like for example, if we study the characteristics of a particular river, a river always have a catchment area. So if there is any changes in the catchment area, it can be detected through GIS. The either the catchment area have increased or decreased. If there are any changes in the streams, we can see through GIS softwares. Then if there is any changes in the channel, like if there is change in the shift in the course of the river, yes, as we normally know that the river changes its course in due time, like it used to form meanders, then from meanders it turns into oxbow lake. So from there we can understand that the river have shifted its course. So those all the things can be detected through GIS. Here satellite images plays a major role. Through satellite images we can see the changes by comparing older images with the recent images. Then even we can see the changes that are going on in the lakes. So even we have seen that some lakes which were bigger in size in the earlier times have decreased in size with time. So this may be due to human activities, if there are some kind of development activities going on nearby the lake, or if there are some other kind of natural phenomena also. Yes, natural phenomena also plays a role in changing the shape of the lakes, like if there is some kind of earthquake, if there is any upflowment from the ground, if the ground level have risen up, or if the ground level submerged down. So if in both the cases there are changes, if the land mass submerge, then we can see there the lakes are formed, and if the land mass rise up, then we can see that either if there was an existing lake, it dries up, or it is scattered into fragments, or the size decreases. So and even in transportation facilities, yes, like if we see the scope of GIS in transportation facilities, it is very vast. Like for example, in transportation planning, the major requirement is the network of roads, the network of railways. Yes, that is very much important. So what happens, the GIS people, the GIS analysts used to plan the entire route network by looking at the observing the satellite images. They used to plan the road networks, then accordingly the construction works goes on the prepared plan. So like that, the railway networks are also dependent, they are also dependent upon the GIS technology for its rail routes. Okay, so we can see that there are lots of utility of the GIS even in the transportation sector. And if we talk about the navigation is one of the prime requirement of today's generation. Navigation we always use every day. It is available in almost all of the platforms, like in our phone itself we have the location services. There are GPS devices available in the market. Everywhere the navigation is used. It's like if we are traveling somewhere, so obviously we would like to look at the navigation. If we are traveling for the first time, if we don't know the route, we will use the help of Google Maps, Google Earth to locate our destination. So here the major role is played by the GPS satellites which are present in the space, which orbits the Earth in constellation. So through the help of the GPS satellites we get the accurate location of our position and the position of our destination. So here we can say the navigation is used in day-to-day life. It is used by common people to the military officials. To in everyone's life the use of navigation is there. Then if we talk about other services like telecom services, yes, in telecom services also GIS is used to locate its tower locations. Then if we talk about the industry planning, urban planning, yes, GIS is used. In urban planning also the GIS is used to detect the suitable locations where the city or town can be planned. Then even about talking about the growth of the urban, so in that case also GIS plays a major role in planning out the urban sprawls. Then in say industrial planning also, we first of all detect the suitable locations which where we can plan our industry by looking at various certain criteria like the land use land cover of the area, the suitability and the surrounding environment, and everything is first of all detected by using GIS. Then the planning is implemented. So this is what we can say the scope of GIS. Okay.
Okay, sir. Now, can you please tell us about the branches and what opportunities do we get by learning GIS?
Okay. Um, by talking about the branches of GIS and the opportunities of GIS, there are lots of opportunities and branches of GIS. GIS is not limited to only one aspect. So let's talk about what are the opportunities and what are the branches of GIS. It's like um, there are lots of works of GIS. In GIS only we get to see lots of divisions, like some of the sector is engaged in training. Training is one of the sectors of GIS, yes. Then we can see some of the things are related to surveying, some of the things are related to desktop work, some of the things are related to analyst work. So what is the work of a trainer? As we know, the work of a trainer is to train people. Here the trainer plays a major role in teaching the softwares, in training the softwares, so through which the knowledge is spread out throughout the interested people. Then talking about the work of a surveyor, the surveyor also plays a major role in this sector. The surveyors is to go through the field, they used to visit the field using different kinds of modern technologies, like by carrying a GPS device, by carrying the GPS devices, then using geotech technologies and many more things they use on the ground to collect data. So after collecting the data is processed using GIS softwares. Then there are some interpreters for the desktop work. Yes, in the desktop work also we required some GIS softwares. Yes, in desktop softwares, whatever the surveys used to collect the data or the data which is collected remotely, they are all processed using desktop softwares. In that field also there are lots of people who work in this sector. Then we can say about the analyst. The analyst one is the role of the analyst is one of the prime role. He used to analyze the entire thing in a final shot. It means that starting from the remote sensing data till processing of the data till preparation of the final layout, everything is scrutinized and checked by the analyst either the things are correct or not. So it's like a hierarchy, we can say. The GIS work cannot be handled by only a single person. So here the lots of people are engaged in this sector for different kinds of purposes. Some are engaged in training, some are engaged in surveying, some are in desktop work, some are in the analyst work. So we can see like that. Then talking about the opportunities, yes, there are lots of opportunities in GIS sector. So like in today's generation, disaster management is one of the very one of the leading sector which is recruiting GIS people. Then here we can say that the hazards like flood hazards, landslide hazard, forest fires all require GIS technology to monitor what is going on the hazard location. So here two things work, like in hazard, the prevention, and if the hazard have occurred, what is the solution? Both the things are being prepared in the GIS for preparedness and for precautionary measures. Also GIS technology used to predict if there is if any kind of hazard is going to appear. Then if the hazard have occurred, GIS technology can be used to detect the extent of the hazard, then what kind of solutions can be taken out to mitigate the hazard. So even in the forest department nowadays, there are lots of scope in forest department. In forest department, like to detect the changes in the forest cover, to detect some kind of new areas where the forest can be increased, then to open up some kind of animal corridors, to open up to monitor the land areas of the national parks, some kind of habitat areas. So all those scopes are there in within the forest department. Then in the industrial department also there are lots of opportunities, like in telecom industries, GIS is very important. Here we can see that lots of setting up of towers and setting up of cables require GIS technology. Like first of all, the area is analyzed, like where we can set up mobile towers, where we can set up the cables. So all the things are mapped out using GIS technology. Then even in the transportation sector also there are lots of scopes where we get to see the network planning is done, the network analysis is done, where we get where in network analysis we get to see the real-time tracking of the traffic conditions of the road, either the road is flexible to travel or not. Everything can be analyzed through network analysis, and new routes can be planned out, like if we can take out if we have to reach from point A to point B, we can take out some other alternatives to reach the destination through network analysis. So there are lots of opportunities out there. Then even in the mining sector, even in the quarry sector, there are lots of scopes of GIS. So that's all about the opportunities of GIS.
Okay, sir. Now I would like to know that geography people takes all the mapping works and everything. So how much time does GIS need to complete the same work?
Okay, so basically the basics of GIS is from geography only. If we talk about geography, the everything comes from geography only, and it's not like it is limited to the only the subject of geography. Other subjects are also included in this. As we know, the geography is mother of all sciences. So here, talking about the speed of the work in normal geography and using the modern GIS, it's like that. In earlier times, in geography, cartography plays a major role in map making. So it requires a great skill in mapping out anything. Like we cannot just draw a sketch. There are rules of making map. Like a map has to be to the scale. So we have to represent a map in scales. We have to measure like at what scale we will prepare the map. So those things are very important. And even while displaying any kind of themes on the map, either chloroplate map, either dot density, or any kind of distribution map, we have to be very precise in plotting the things, and it requires a lot of time. So it can even take a 1 day to 2 days or hours in completing a particular work, because it has to be accurate and up to the scale and up to the mark. So it requires a lot of time. And the same thing if we go to do in GIS, it's just a matter of minutes. It's like that we just feed the data in GIS softwares. Like if you want to display the dot density of a population, then you just need to feed the data of population within the GIS software. Like prepare the data in an Excel sheet, then just implement that Excel data using GIS software. The GIS will automatically generate you a map out of it. Then even other outputs like any kind of thematic map, any kind of distribution map, all can be generated using GIS just within a single click. That is what is the advantage of GIS nowadays upon the manual cartography methods which we use in the manual geography.
So sir, now I would like to ask you about during the recent times, Corona has uh, like closed down all the jobs or works of students and other people. So what are the future demands of GIS in the present world?
Okay, so if we talk about the future demands, its scope, its aspects of GIS in the coming times, there are lots of opportunities out there in this field. So like I will start with some basic examples. Like you see nowadays, most of the new cities, most of the new towns, they recruit most of the GIS professionals in their department, like if any new town is going to be built up in a new plot of land, there requires planners, right? They require planners to do so. So now where does the planning takes place? Especially GIS softwares helps in this matter in solving the problem of urban planning. There are lots of planners out there who plans the entire city, the entire town using GIS softwares. Then they implement the plan out in real life. Then there are lots of opportunities out there in GIS regarding the mapping services also, like if there is any kind of hazard going out there, so the hazardous areas wherever there are like flood hazards, if there is any kind of landslide or forest fire, that can be mapped out using GIS softwares. Then regarding the telecom services also, to set up any kind of new towers or any kind of new cable network, then GIS is very useful and very helpful in this matter. Then regarding the maintenance of data of government, public or any private, GIS can be very useful. Like for example, nowadays the COVID data was mostly maintained by GIS professionals only. As you have seen, there are lots of visual platforms out there, like there are some kind of maps available on the online platform. Like if you click at that map, you will get a pop-up of the present scenario of that area. Like for example, India, if you click at the India map, you will get to see a pop-up like what are the active cases, then what is the recovery rate of the country. Then if you click at any particular state of India, you will get the data for a particular state. All those databases are maintained by GIS. Then other examples can be like maintenance of government records of employees of its government departments, that all can be single-handedly stored in GIS software. GIS software can locate all those offices of government departments, then the number of people working there in that government offices, then the attribute of those employees like the name of the employee, the address of the employee, then the post of the employee, everything can be stored in a GIS platform. Then GIS can be very helpful in surveillance activities, like in CCTV camera services. The traffic police can use this. So in most of the cities we have seen that there are CCTV cameras installed at the traffic points, right? So then monitoring all the cameras at one time may be difficult, and even it becomes a problem for someone to locate all the locations at one time. So GIS can be very helpful. In the GIS there are lots of platforms where we can connect those cameras. Then using location services, we can just click at one particular location and we will get to see the scenario what is going on at a particular location. So if suppose if someone gives a complaint that there is some kind of accident at one particular location, and if there is any kind of violence going out there, then immediately we can using location services of GIS, we can immediately click at that point and see the CCTV footage what is exactly going on. Then there are lots of other opportunities coming up in this GIS sector, even in the transportation sector and even in the medical sectors also. Like for example, we can say that in nowadays the COVID, yes, during the COVID time, the number of vaccines available, the number of vaccination centers, all those are recorded in GIS softwares. In GIS software we can see map layouts which shows the availability of vaccination centers in a particular area, the availability of vaccines. All those data can be maintained using GIS softwares. Okay.
So sir, do you feel that GIS is such a thing that you can just sit at home and get the entire data in just by sitting in one place.
Yeah, in GIS, obviously we can get data remotely by just sitting at home. So it works like this. For example, suppose if you want to map out the land use land cover of any particular area, it is not mandatory that you have to go to that place to see exactly what are the features available there. You can instead use a satellite image to study the entire area. For example, if you download data from Landsat or the resource set of Bhuvan, if you download the data from there, then you can just study what the features in that satellite images, like the distribution of cropland, the distribution of agriculture, the distribution of built up areas, the distribution of water bodies, vegetation, the forest, and so on. Then you can prepare your own layout out of it. Like you can classify the entire image like in whatever classes you are available, like water bodies, forest, vegetation, built up areas, like that you can classify. Then other examples are like if you want to map out the terrain of a particular area. So digital terrain models are very useful. Digital terrain models are available online. You can download them. Then you can study the terrain of a particular area even without visiting the terrain physically. Then even topo sheets are also useful in this regard in studying the terrain. If you have any kind of topo sheet like published by Survey of India or other sources, then you can map out the contour lines out of it. Okay, after mapping out the control lines, then you can convert those control lines to dam data by appropriately marking the heights of those control lines. Then whatever output you will get as a dam data, that is a digital elevation model, that output can be generated into a 3D layout where you can see the entire 3D structure of that area. So like that you can remotely access the data even without physically visiting. Then there are lots of examples out of there, like even you can do change detection also, like if you are studying the change of a river course, for example. Okay, so suppose in the year 2000 and in this recent 2021, if there is any change in the river channel, you can easily find out. You just need to download one old image of year 2000, then of the year 2021 of the latest date, then you can compare both the images. You will get to see what are the changes in due course. In that interval of time, you get to see that either the river have shifted its channel or not. Like that, even without visiting the field, you can do many various kinds of studies by just using GIS softwares.
So, sir, now I would like to know that how much cost does it take for doing a GIS course?
Okay, see this regarding the course structure and regarding the course phase of GIS. So here it varies from place to place, institute to institute, universities to universities. Okay, so some of the universities may take fees like around 1 lakh or above 1 lakh. Some universities offer GIS courses in very minimal amount, around 30,000 or 40,000 and even 50,000 also. Okay, just the thing is that the money doesn't matter like how much you are investing. It's something matters is how much you are gaining by the amount you are paying. That's what it matters. It's like suppose if you are going to some university by paying lots of money, and at the end of the time if you don't get anything beneficial out of there, then you can say that yes, it was not that at all useful by giving so much of money. Then if in the same case, if you go to some kind of institute by paying small amount only, if you get a lot of information, then you can say it's very useful, right? So here you should not judge someone by the amount, that this institute is taking that much of amount, that means you will get the equivalent output also. It's not like that. You must always do a research of that institute, the past records, the performance of the institute, that either if they are taking so high fees, either they are keeping the standards, either they are giving quality outputs or not, either they are giving quality knowledge or not. That's what it matters. So you must always go for that. Okay, so that what it matters, like you can we have seen that lots of students they used to prefer some colleges which are very costly. They think that yes, maybe there are lots of facilities out there, and some think that if some colleges are taking very low fees, then there we will not get too much of facilities. Not something like that. It all depends upon the trainer which is available at that institute, plus how much hard work they are doing. If you are getting something better in higher fees, it's okay, you go for it, there's no problem. If you are finding some institute are not providing good amount of knowledge in small fees, then it's okay. But research work is very much important. Before going to any institute, you must always do a detailed research about the institute, its past records and everything, that either they are providing placements, either the students are gaining knowledge or not. Everything you must check before you go. That's what I want to say.
So like after doing the course, what are the career options and like since the course might be above 50,000, maybe up to 1 lakh or so. So will the student get benefit from that? Like will they get what they have spent the money for? Will they get it back after they enter to the GIS world?
Yeah, obviously. So if someone have invested a lot of money in their education for just taking a 1-year diploma in GIS or 2 years of masters in GIS, okay, so the thing is that the academic part is a bit different thing and the industry part is different. When you enter the real GIS, things are really different. Means in academics, whatever basics you have learned, those you will carry out in the industrial sector. In industrial sector, every day is a new experience for everyone. It's like GIS is something like a tailor work. That means the clients or the customers who comes to you, they come with their own protocols, they come with their own requirements. They say you that I require this the data output in this XYZ format. They will give you the ABCD input like that. So it may not match what you have learned in academics also, like what kind of outputs you have seen in academics. The things may be different here. It will be a new experience for you also. The most important thing that will help you to get out of any situation or any problem is the strong basics which you have gained throughout your academics. And regarding the wordiness, that will be proved that if you can perform well in your industry, that whatever basics you have learned, and if you can utilize it properly, and if you get some fruitful result out of it, then you can say yes, whatever amount I have spent in my academics, it's worthy. And regarding the recovery of whatever you have invested in your academics, obviously you will get more than that, because in GIS sector the income generation is very high nowadays, as we can see that. Yes, initially it may be very low, okay, you may as a fresher you may start with 10 to 15k, okay, but gradually with time it will increase. Like you see, as a fresher you won't get to you won't get such kind of pro level of projects, okay, and this thing even applies in academics also. In academics, when you come to learn GIS, you won't get to learn something pro immediately. You will start from the basics, then you will go to the pro level, right? So even in the industry all the thing is same. So even though you think like yes you know everything about GIS, then even if the industry gives me something pro level, I will be able to handle it. It's not like that. There is a hierarchy in the GIS sector also, like the junior level to the senior level. So first of all you will be a fresher. First, the most important thing will be gaining experience. You try to gain experience. You work with small projects. You start from small projects, whatever may be the amount. It doesn't have to be a lakh rupees of project or a crore rupees of project. Start from thousands, no problem. You start. You have, the important thing is you will have to start from something. Okay, then when you will learn the things like how to face the real projects, how to deal with the clients, how to produce outputs, and slowly you will learn and gain more and more experience in this industry. Then with your experience even you will get higher positions, right? So when you will apply from some other companies which demand like 3 years of experience, 5 years experience, you can easily get into that if you can show that amount of experience, right? So never think that you are small or something like that. It's okay, the starting may be a bit tough for you. You start with initial, but learning is very important. So you start from small, then easily you will get to the top level. So that's all about this GIS industry.
So can we say that in the career that a student will be making in GIS, can they be can they achieve such a position where like they can be hired by the top agencies like NASA and ISRO?
Yes. So in this GIS sector, if anyone have started their career and if they have their dream job of working with NASA or ISRO, obviously they can achieve. But it won't be a very fast step. Gradually they have to start, like initially they have to start as a fresher in somewhere or the other. Then they have to gain experience in working with different professionals, working with different projects and all. Slowly they have to increase the standards. Then once they reach that level of experience which is demanded by ISRO or NASA, they can obviously get enrolled in that, because you see they are the top agencies. They will obviously require someone who is well educated, well expertise in the field and with lots of experience. So if you have dreams of working with the ISRO, if you have dreams of working with the NASA, obviously you can get your dream job. Just you need to keep some patience and keep working hard and keep practicing whatever skills you have. Obviously you will reach the top position.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to know that what is the use of GIS and the new technologies in the modern world? Like how GIS is uprising itself and what other new technologies are coming in the industry so to make the world a better environment than previous time.
Okay. With time we have seen, since the start of the GIS only, we have seen there are a lot of changes in the technology of GIS. GIS itself has evolved a lot. Today whatever we are using in this present year 2021, it was far different what people used 20 years back. It is totally different. There is a vast difference in the technology, and even lots of new technologies are coming out. So if we talk about the GIS, the trends of GIS, so we have seen that earlier time people were mostly dependent upon satellite images for any kind of study. Okay, so we have seen that yes, even now this technology is relevant. Even nowadays also we use satellite images to study, remotely study something, some kind of areas, right? So it is there. But even we have seen that satellite images are not that clear enough to provide accurate data, because you see, if we study a very small area, a small locality, a small town or a small village, if you try to zoom to that level, the image becomes blurred and nothing is visible at that point. Then to solve this problem, drone technology evolved. So drone used to take aerial images, and the aerial images are very clear short images. There are high definition images. Using those images, we can clearly study a very small plot of land, because these aerial images are not just images, they are georeferenced images. They are designed in such a way, the technology is designed in such a way that whatever aerial photographs are taken, they are all georeferenced images. That means you can directly use them in any kind of GIS platform to study any kind of particular area. They are very high resolution images. That is one improvement in the GIS sector. Then other things are there, like the GPS. Yes, the GPS which we use in navigation. So by different departments, even the common people use it in their phones, in their daily life, to travel and navigate. So advanced technology have been introduced, that is the DGPS. The DGPS is more advanced to GPS. The DGPS, the accuracy of DGPS is much more than the GPS. The GPS works like in a constellation orbit. There are lots of satellites out there, like it is a constellation of 24 satellites which orbit the Earth, and if you have an average of 4 satellites, then you get one GPS reading to some accuracy. But DGPS is not something that which is dependent on 4 satellites or something. It itself gives high accuracy. So this is one advancement which we have seen in the GPS. Then there are other advancements like you can see the digital terrain model. Yes, the digital terrain model is also one advancement in this. Before, in earlier times, what happens, the remote sensing technology which was there in the satellites, okay, they can just take satellite imageries, okay, by using the sensors which are fixed over there, but we are not able to study the terrain. Okay, to study the terrain, there came lots of technologies, like the active sensors came to being, like the radar technology, okay, the LiDAR technology is also in the active sensors. Okay, those technologies don't require any source of energy like the passive ones. The basic remote sensing satellites, they are passive satellites. They require the sun as the source of energy to operate. That means they operate only in the daytime, they are inactive in the night times. But the active sensors are such, they don't depend on any source of energy. They can work on its own. They have their own source of illumination or energy. The LiDAR technology is one of the advanced technology which we can see nowadays. It is much advanced than the normal digital elevation model, because LiDAR technology not only scans the ground, it scans even the vegetation, even the man-made features, the natural features, everything is scanned in its sensors, and we can classify them separately. We can classify the vegetation, we can classify the built up areas, the industries, and each and everything can be classified. And the LiDAR data is like in the form of point clouds, okay, and they are like 3D. They are 3D data. If you have ever opened the LiDAR data in any kind of software, you can see the 3D of anything. You can rotate in 360-degree angle, in any angle you can see the thing. So recent there was a discovery in the Amazon Valley that you must have heard in history, that the Mayan civilization, which was covered in the deep forest of the Amazon, it was recently excavated and discovered using this LiDAR technology, because you know the Amazon is one of the thickest forests and penetrating the forest is very difficult. So what happened, the LiDAR technology detect the entire structure which was buried under the forest. So that is one very plus point of this technology. Then there are other technologies which are coming up in this the GIS field, like nowadays if anyone goes for survey work, yes, for survey work most of the time we used to take those theodolites, right, the theodolites which are digital or either manual, we used to take them for survey. Nowadays those also are replaced by the modern technologies like modern GPS devices like Trimble Juno, right? This is one modern device. Then other devices like we can see DGPS, right? So there are lots of devices which are coming out which are replacing the old traditional techniques of GIS. Then even in the future we are getting to see that there are lots of sensors improvements coming out in the satellites also. There are lots of improvements coming out with different versions of satellites, like before we used to, whatever the quality of satellite image we used to get in the past, nowadays it is much more improved, and even more improvements are coming out in the future where we will get high resolution satellite imageries with higher details. So there are lots of improvement in this sector, as we can see.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like, as I have heard everything, and what I felt is that you are much more experienced in the GIS background. So I would like to know your experience, like where you started from and where you work, and like how is it going?
Okay, so regarding my experience in GIS, so initially I started my education in the field of geography. So when I was a bachelor in geography, I knew nothing about GIS, honestly speaking. I was simply interested in geography. I took honors in geography during my graduation. I have completed my 3 years of graduation. After at the end of my 3 year of graduation, the last semester, there was a small part in the syllabus regarding remote sensing and GIS. That was something new to me, which I never heard in school time, neither before from anyone. Then, uh, when I attended the classes, it was quite interesting. It was all about technology, and I was very interested in technological stuffs regarding computers or any kind of software or anything from before only. Then I took interest in this, that yes, there are satellites working out, they used to take images, they operate in this manner. Then there are people who work in the GIS sector who interpret the data and so on. So I got some kind of basic knowledge in there in my graduation last semester. Then after that also, I was not too much, I did not know if there was any kind of institute which provides such kind of GIS courses, or if there was any kind of company out there. Then when I took my admission in post graduation in geography, uh, there was a special paper to select. Yes, we have 3 papers, like one was planning, urban planning, then GIS and remote sensing, then we have political geography. Those were the branches of geography. Then as I was a bit interested in this remote sensing and GIS, I took my special paper in this. Then when I took my special paper in this, then I was introduced to the basics of GIS. It was quite interesting. It was very much interesting because everything was too technical, and I always loved technology. Then in the coming days, I was introduced to the softwares for the first time. There I was using QGIS. The first software which I used in GIS was QGIS. There I got to know that maps can be made digitally. Then I digitized the first map in QGIS software. Then later I learned ArcGIS, then Addis Imagine. Then it was quite interesting. I have prepared my project report, my dissertation report in GIS during my master's time. Then I came to know that there are different kinds of institutes out there which provide this diploma courses in geoinformatics, remote sensing and GIS, and even there are some kind of post-graduation courses like MSc in geoinformatics or MTech in geoinformatics which are out there. Then I opted for postgraduate diploma in geoinformatics. So I have done 1 year diploma course in geoinformatics. It was quite interesting. The journey was very wonderful. So I got to know a lot about what I have learned in my master's level. It was something more than that. So I was very interested in learning all of the softwares which are out there. Then I came to know what are the scope of this field, what are the future opportunities. Then I was very interested to work in this field, and I have even decided that in my future I will pursue GIS as a career. Then first I worked as a trainer. Even now also I'm a trainer. Then I have seen that in my career that GIS is not that tough to learn. Only the thing is that a dedication is required to learn this thing. Like, you must have some kind of basic knowledge of geography, that is must. Then you must have some kind of technical knowledge, like you must know how to operate the computer, how to operate the laptop. Then some technology is required. It doesn't mean that you have to be from some kind of programming background, that you have to learn Java, C++ or something like that. Okay, that will be a plus one for you if you know all those softwares. Okay, there is no doubt that there are some advanced students also out there who knows everything. Okay, but even if you have the basic knowledge of computer, of handling Microsoft Office also, then you are fit to learn GIS. And even with the small basic knowledge of geography, like if you can identify what is a map, if you can identify what is the meaning of latitude, longitude, north, south, east, west, the compass directions, then you can understand geography. Because this GIS field is not only limited to geography, it is used in all other disciplines of sciences, arts, commerce, everywhere. Because everyone requires GIS nowadays, because it is a technology. Even people from civil engineering background, geology, zoology, botany, physics, chemistry, etc., they all learn GIS nowadays because it's a very helpful in every respective fields. Then, regarding my career, right now I am working with ACS Technologies, one of the primary institutes of Northeast India. So here we have lots of courses. We have like 1 year diploma in remote sensing and GIS. We have 6 months diploma course in geoinformatics. We provide even 3 months certificate courses in GIS. So the syllabus which is designed in this institute is up to date with the latest GIS technologies which are there in the market. Because you know, this GIS technology is something which gets updated on daily basis. So we have all of the latest technologies available here in our institute. We have the latest faculty here to teach each and every kind of software here. Even I am a faculty here, and I am teaching your GIS softwares since 1 year. Then, as you know that in today's world the competition is very high in this GIS market, so all we need to be updated. So if you are looking out for something, some kind of updated technology, if you want to learn the latest technologies in GIS, then you all are welcome to HGS Technologies. You will benefit and gain lots of knowledge regarding the GIS. So even you will get future opportunities and guidelines, like what are the scope of GIS in the future, and even you will get to work practically on live projects also, because in our institute even we work upon live projects which are going on out there. So you will get those practical knowledge also, like how to handle real GIS apart from the academics. So you will get to, the journey will be wonderful. That's what all I want to say. And even here our fees is very affordable. It is for 1 year diploma, you will get to learn all of the basics of GIS and all of the latest technology in just 50 to 60k. Then if you are opting out for 6 months of courses, it's very affordable. Within 25 to 30k you can learn the 6 months courses, and even for certificate courses also it is in very affordable rate. So you can offer our institute ACS Technologies. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful facts that you have shared. So I would like to end the video now. Thank you so much for spending the time and giving us so much knowledge about GIS. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.